Bogs or gumboots? Which one's the best? Beats me.
Hey, you!
You're watching Robbie Fishing. Right, now you're in the market for a new set of waterproof shoes. You don't know whether to lash out and pay the extra money and buy a pair of Bogs, or whether to just get a basic good old-fashioned pair of gumboots. Hopefully in this video I can help you make a decision. I'll just pick up my Bog. Right, now these are Bogs. Bogs are, they're like a gumboot. They've got the rubber on the bottom, but they've got some kind of material here. I don't know what it is. Some kind of neoprene or something, I'm not really sure. Gumboots are just a good old-fashioned rubber gumboot. They're flimsy and they're rubber and they serve their purpose. Let's break this comparison down into a few categories. Which one is the most comfortable? And the most comfortable by a country mile are the Bogs. The Bogs have got a lot more padding inside them. The fact that they've got this rigid side around this instead of this flimsy rubber, this stuff here sort of hugs your skin a lot more and they're a lot more comfortable. I haven't worn them very much with shorts, so I'm only talking about wearing them with long pants. But if I was going for comfort, without a doubt, I would go for the Bogs. Which ones are the most waterproof? Well, that's the gumboots, simply because they're a couple of inches higher. So when I'm walking up a trout stream, the gumboots give me just that couple of inches before that cold water gets into my feet. But as long as the water is below the top of the boot, they're both 100% waterproof. Neither of them let any water in. So for trout fishing and stuff where I don't want to get my feet wet, the gumboots win. If I'm wet wading up a stream, and I'm only going to be walking up to here anyway, so the boots are more to serve the purpose of protecting my feet from blackberries and snakes and sharp bushes or whatever. They're both about the same. But one thing worth noting, if you are wet wading like that and they fill up with water, the Bogs take much longer to dry. If I was to get them both wet today, these will be dry, this time of the year, these will be dry probably tomorrow or the next day. These will probably stay wet for a week. In summer, these might dry in a couple of hours. These might take half a day. So that's something worth taking into consideration. They both retain their shape. Once they've been wet, once they dry, neither of them shrivel up like a leather shoe and give you blisters. They both retain their shape, but the Bogs are much slower drying. Let's talk about price. Which ones are the most expensive? The Bogs. These are just ballpark figures. I bought both of these. These aren't sponsored in any way, shape or form. The gumboots I bought from Bunnings in Wangaratta, I think they're about $30 or $40. The Bogs I bought from Adventure Camping and Fishing, and I think they're around about 170 or 180, give or take a little bit. I can't remember because I bought a few other things and it all tallied up to whatever it was. But either way, these are probably at least 4 to 5 times dearer than the gumboot. Let's throw a couple of situations out there. At the moment I'm crayfishing. I'm walking along the banks here. I've got my my hiking shoes on. I don't know whether you can see them or not, but I've got my hiking shoes on with my snow chains on them, my crampons to help me grip in the mud. But if I wasn't wearing them and I wanted a nice dry boot, I'd wear the Bogs because I can wear them all day and still feel really comfortable. They're a much more comfortable boot. But if you can't afford that expensive boot, the gumboots will serve the purpose just fine. Now let's talk about longevity. Which ones are going to last the longest? Well, unfortunately, I don't have an answer for the Bogs because I've only had them about 6 to 8 weeks and I love them. The gumboots, I've had these gumboots for over 12 months and they've been through water. I've been wet wading in them. They've been through blackberries, fences, the whole lot, and I haven't missed a beat. There's no holes, there's no sign of any wear. These are long lasting. These I can't say are long lasting, but I suspect they will be because I've really put these through some torture and they've shown no sign of getting damaged or wearing out or anything like that. Something else worth pointing out, which ones are easier to put on? The Bogs by a mile, and I'll tell you why. See, the top of the gumboot here is flimsy. They often close in like that, whereas the Bogs stay nice and round. I can literally walk up to my Bogs and put my feet in without even bending over. I've got a bad back. At the moment it's fine, but it does ache periodically, and when it's bad, I need to lean on my car to put my shoe on, and it's much easier to do that than it is to put the Bog on than it is to put the gumboot on. I need to free up this hand to put the gumboot on. So the Bog wins hands down when it comes to being easy to put on. And one other thing worth mentioning is temperature. The Bogs are much warmer. Just now, walking along the bank of the river crayfishing, they're both going to be fine. But when I'm on the boat ramp at Lake Buffalo in the cold water casting lures for redfin, I cannot feel the cold of the water getting through the Bogs. I can with the gumboots. My feet are dry, but I can definitely feel that cold a lot more than I can with the Bogs. which then leads to a bit more condensation. So my pants get a bit wetter from condensation with gumboots than they do with the Bogs. The Bogs, they will get a little bit of condensation, but not nearly as much as the gumboots. So we've covered comfort, easy to put on, price, and a few other lurks and perks. Which ones are the best and which ones should you buy? My recommendation is, if you can afford the Bogs, go the Bogs, because they're so much more comfortable. If you can't afford the Bogs, don't worry. Get the gumboots, because they will still do the job every bit as well. And if you're walking up trout streams and you want to keep your feet dry, unless you can find a higher set of Bogs, go the gumboots because they're taller. And just quickly, Bogs have other brands. There's a brand that they've actually got holes in the side to help you put them on. These are so easy to put on that you don't need those holes. And for me personally, it's not worth sacrificing that much waterproofness for having that little bit of ease to put on. That might be good for dairy farmers or something like that. Folks, gumboots versus Bogs, which ones are the best? Beats me.